Happy Friday, beautiful souls. How are you? And just literally as I'm starting the video, it's beginning to rain here in windy southern Britain, and won't be long. I'll be talking here. The trees will be coming out with their beautiful spring leaves soon, but not today. So I hope you've all had a good week. I've had another powerful week this week, although there wouldn't necessarily be any kind of specific dates or energy flows that have been made apparent to me that are coming in. We've been feeling it. We've been feeling that flex in the field, and we are. One thing that I'm always very careful not to do, particularly within this field. I know there are a lot of people out there that are kind of quite fluid with specific predictions, but that's one thing I try and stay away from a little bit, because quite often with the dimensional space that we live in and the scenarios that we are working within and creating at the moment, a lot of things that are occurring that we are not expecting. They are also fresh creations. So the actual picture of what we create or what is actually occurring around us might be slightly different or completely different from the one that we actually visualize, because we have never achieved what we are achieving before at the moment. This huge hop from 3D to 5D in such a small space of time. Like I've said in previous videos, over the course of hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, a planet or a species will move from the third dimensional level of consciousness that we all know and love and very familiar with, right, and ascend, either physically or non-physically. And that usually happens over a longer period of time. That's something that will occur over, in many cases, lifetimes, but not us. Okay, we're doing it in a very, very short space of time. We are part of a groundbreaking crew. We are basically living and ascending during one of the greatest kind of galactic experiments. And I do mean experiment as well. If you think about what happened during Atlantis, although Atlantis was a revered time, it contained our most recent golden era. We're using the skills, the gifts and the knowledge that we put aside for ourselves now. Again, Atlantis was an experiment, and it exists for 260,000 years. It took 10,000 years to set up. Then it ran for an extensive period of time before basically being shut down over the last 10,000 years, and it finished on the cosmic moment, the 21st of December 2012. So we are in completely fresh territory here at the moment. We are in a place, in a zone that we've never been in before. Now, it's just started to rain. I'm going to put my hat on, so just excuse me for 2 seconds. I have it at hand, that's better. At least I can't feel the rain so much now. So what I want to talk about a little bit this morning, and without making any kind of specific energy predictions, is kind of what we can expect, or what we're going to be feeling over the next 6 months particularly. Now, you've heard me talk about the storm layer in previous videos, which was set up by Merlin and the Intergalactic Council to basically siphon off and alchemize the very large quantities of lower frequency energies that were due to be released from 2019 to August 2022. Now, between now and the Lion's Gate, I feel or sense, I'm also getting this reflected back by other people in the spiritual field, that we are going to be releasing probably the most intensive quantity of energy that we have seen yet. Now, everything that is up for release is past lives, karma, lower frequency energies, anything that has been kind of sewn into the kind of the fabric or the matrix or the energetics of our planet and our four-body system for the last 10,000 years. And this is going to kind of, I don't think there's going to be any specific kind of peaks with this, but it's going to be rolling out very steadily under pressurized circumstances until August. Okay, now when the Lion's Gate starts, it's pretty much where Merlin said that the energy would start winding down. The effects wouldn't be immediate, but the storm layer for its final year will kind of basically not so much peter out, but it will diminish in its in the speed with which it rotates, which naturally tells me that it will be requiring less fuel. It will be taking less of lower frequency and negative energies in there. By no means are we going to be out of the process that we're experiencing at the moment, but it's definitely going to be becoming a lot less intensive, so to speak. But in the meantime, what are we being presented with? And I know these are kind of very much more practical kind of talks at the moment, because we have got practical things to deal with. And the thing that is becoming most evident or most prominent to me is the state of people mentally and physically while we undergo the circumstances that we are experiencing with our everyday lives, and the almost like the intensity or the ferocity of the shifts that we are experiencing. At no point in any proceedings where I don't think I was under any illusions, and I don't think any of you who've been on the pathway were under any illusions that when this shift started, it was going to be the most intense thing that we ever experienced, because of the way that the last 8 or 9 years has been presented to us. We've been so kind of immersed in our own personal ascension process that I think, and this is me included, kind of overlooked slightly exactly what would happen or how people would respond to it when this planet started changing. So the difference between an energy report now and an energy report at this time last year, when everything really started moving in this direction, is that now each of you listening to this will know at least one person who is either in crisis at the moment on a mental or a physical level, or will be directly associated with someone. So how do we deal with this? How do we deal with this as light workers? I know I've touched on this subject before, but it's what we are being presented with at the moment as spiritual leaders, as teachers, as ground workers, as light warriors, is a huge percentage of the populace who are being forced awake. Okay, there is no the end, regardless of personal circumstances. It doesn't matter whether it's occurring via lockdown, via relationships, via jobs, via personal spiritual process. If you are forced through a gateway, an ascension gateway or an awakening gateway, or for want of a better word, you get red pilled in a very short space of time, what occurs usually is a soul who's woke, when the third eye is stripped away, when the bodies and the fields light up, when that energy comes in, it's actually recognized, when the heart begins to detach from the ego and begins to run the show. The result is dark night of the soul. Okay, now our dark night of the soul, the collective dark night of the soul, began when the navel chakra when the navel chakra globally triggered last February. We're exactly a year in my estimations from the beginning of this process, and now things are really starting to get working. So all around you, people will be waking up. They'll be breaking out of their constraints, their restrictions. The most distressing thing, or the most jarring thing for people, is when their cognitive dissonance or the thing that kept them in their state of inertia is shattered, when it's taken away, when they finally realise that the picture that they were looking at and they were identifying with on a daily basis it no longer exists. And of course the circumstances of the changing of the societies, the finances, the working, the interactions with other human souls, there's a lot of things going on at the moment that are really, really designed to pressurize people. Okay, now on an outside perspective, this might look like it is being deliberately done by nefarious forces, and on a 3D level it is. Okay, the various kind of political institutions or governments, call them what you want, around the globe appear to be aligning to roll out an agenda which does not look great for humanity and freedom at the other end of it. The energy that's working underneath that is far more light, is far more powerful. What it's doing is, it's like I've said previously, these are simply actors that are playing a role, playing the kind of like almost like the Bond baddie villain kind of roles in order for this energetic process to take place. But the real realities of it is this is causing stress, and it's causing a lot of anxiety. It's causing a lot of when the wind blows, it hits the branches, the tree will bend, and if the tree isn't bending correctly, then it will snap. And there's, for want of a better word, there is a lot of snapping going on out there at the moment. People are reaching crisis point, they're reaching maximum density. So a lot of you might find at where you are right now that your teaching roles are changing slightly. The people that have been coming to you for a long time, and we're talking like, you know, stable, grounded, forward moving, strong people, are all of a sudden they're rattled. The world in which they live is changing. The circumstances that are being applied to them are no longer static or supportive, and there is a big wobble effect going on. So just bear that in mind, that this energy, this real toing and froing, this application of stress is going to be in place probably throughout our spring and the early summer, simply because of the way that this energy process is designed. Now, how we deal with this, how we approach it, how we integrate with it is completely down to us, how personally stable we are, how much stuff we've got to personally deal with, and how we're actually broaching this ascension process. But for those of you who are genuinely having a hard time at the moment, put my hand on my heart and sending you all the love in the world. There is a huge amount of assistance now being organised and orchestrated to assist not just light workers, not just people on the ascension pathway, but everybody. And I'd like to give a shout out for one particular event that is going on, and this is occurring on the 25th of February, and it's being organised by a lady I've got a huge amount of respect for, called Zoe Clues, from Zoe Clues Associates in London, and it's called Recover Your Spark. And what I'm going to do, it's a free event. It's running on Thursday the 25th, and I will include the link and the details for it. And this will be hosted by 3 very highly trained, very knowledgeable people, including Zoe herself, who are trained to deal with the stresses and the strains of life, and basically be there on a professional level to deal with what's going on. You know, the forces are now organising this. With everything that occurs around us, there will always be a counter response to it. We're not just being kind of left, you know, to roll through this process like willy-nilly. There is a huge movement of energy there, like the support net is in place. All it takes sometimes to reach out, find the right people, find the right group, find the right organisation, and go for it. So if you are feeling like this, even if you don't normally, you're not the kind of person to reach out, you're not the kind of person to ask for help. If you're feeling that way, do it, because it's not just a personal process anymore, it's a collective energetic. Okay, there are so many people around us at the moment who are feeling microwaved by these circumstances. If you imagine what happens when you put a cup of water in a microwave and you boil it over a period of time, the water molecules get to the point where they're vibrating so fast that they boil. that we are on high simmer, okay, energetically at the moment, and the boiling process will continue. So if you are feeling particularly cooked, if you are feeling like you need to reach out, if you're feeling like you need to step back, take a rest, if all of the energy that's coming to you is all, particularly in our field, if all the energy coming to you is one way and you're not taking that time and that space for yourself, do it now, okay? And like I said, I will include the link for Zoe and her associates event in the video when I post it. So yeah, this is more kind of a practical. This is more like more of a practical talk this morning. This is more about what's going on directly. It's what I'm seeing in the world around me. Is with energy comes practicality. For years and years, we spent, or particularly me, head in the clouds, feet not firmly on the ground, and all of the energy is coming in for this physical process. So we are in the middle of the most incredible change, the most incredible transition, the most incredible shift. But the bit that I predicted years ago and didn't really have any concept of how or what it would look like or how it would even feel is now happening. That incredible wave of people that have been forced to wake simultaneously all at once is occurring. So the collective field experience at the moment is highly charged, it is highly volatile, it is filled with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and as you all know from prior experience, it's you, me and everybody else who does the job that we do to alchemize this. And you might find it useful to call in a 7-day downpouring of the golden rainbow fire, the cosmic diamond violet flame, the lilac fire of source, whichever one of these energies is most useful for you. I found myself waking up and doing this yesterday morning. If you go to my website, Google the golden rainbow fire or the golden rainbow flame and call it in for yourself, and also call it in on a planetary level, because the more of this that we alchemize, the more that we collectively do to negate this very intensive, volatile, kind of electrified field around us, the quicker it will dissipate, the less work that the storm layer has to do will siphon off. And as soon as that starts winding down, as soon as that starts to decrease its rotation and its momentum, we are going to start feeling a lot more stable in our dimensional reality. Remember, we're a lot closer to 2032 than we actually realise, and I've always thought that we're going to be achieving what we are setting out to achieve by going from 3D to 5D a lot sooner than 2032. That was Diana Cooper's prediction when she wrote her book 2012, and this was some time ago. Judging by the rate of the progress and the speed at which we are moving forward at the moment, I really do feel in my heart of hearts we are way ahead of schedule energetically, and this is why we're seeing so much panic and so much chaos in the field. It's always a good indicator, or always a good litmus test to see what's going on with the energies by the kind of this is something you've heard me mention before, like almost like the Monty Python-esque behaviour of particularly, like, say for example, the UK politics and the people that run it, and anybody else who kind of occasionally gets glimmers of the news. It's now getting to the point where it's almost like, well, are these people actually making this stuff up in order to trigger people into a state of awakening? Because once you're awake and you can see it, it's so absurd that you just wonder why people are still buying the narrative. It's absolutely incredible. That's a different story altogether, but this is what people are being faced with, such a conflict of information. Everything that would normally be acceptable is no longer acceptable, and praise be, it's what's waking everybody up. So stick with it, boots on the ground, hold your lines of light. No matter what no matter what comes out of the gate and faces you at the moment, just hold your lines, hold your frequency as high as possible. And if you're having trouble holding your frequency as high as possible, then look for the support around you, because it is there and it is existing now. And there are more and more people who are now mobilizing into action via the prompts of their soul to provide that support. So sending you all lots of love. Happy Friday. I hope you have a beautiful end to the week and a beautiful weekend as well, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.